Bill Cosby is at home this morning, freed from prison after the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled that his due process rights had been violated. Cosby had been in prison since 2018 for sexually assaulting Andrea Constant, though more than 50 women had come forward with similar allegations of him, although in every one of those cases, more or less, the statute of limitations had expired. Joining me now, the attorney representing several of Bill Cosby's accusers, Gloria Allred, as well as Victoria Valentino. She says Cosby drugged and raped her at a Hollywood Hills apartment in 1969. Victoria, I just want to start with you this morning. Bill Cosby's at home. He's free. How do you feel about that?
Dismayed, enraged, infuriated, and stunned. We had just received a letter stating that his parole had been denied, and we received that letter preemptively in May. He wasn't due to come up for parole on his 3 to 10 year sentence until September 25th. So it was a shock when we got the letter saying that he was preemptively denied parole, but we were great, we were like, yeah. And then this came out of left field. Who would have expected this?
More than 50 women have come forward with accusations like the one you have made. It takes great courage to come forward. In some ways, even more courage to come forward. More than 60. It takes even greater courage to come forward after so much time has passed. If you knew that this would happen, if you knew that he would be released from jail on a technicality when you made the decision to tell your story, your truth, how would that have affected you?
Not at all. I stand in solidarity with my sister survivors when I was raped, when I was drugged, kidnapped, and raped in 1969 by Bill Cosby. It never occurred to me that it was anyone more than me, being stupid, naive, vulnerable, because my little boy had drowned and I was grieving and I was very vulnerable. But then once I broke my silence and discovered that there were all these other women coming out of the woodwork who had the same experience, the same pattern of behavior, I felt, my God, this guy is a serial rapist. This was a plan. This was a pattern. So I was really very grateful to have found other women who had experienced similar things as I had with him, and we were all finding our voice and standing up for women's rights.
Gloria, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court did not make any determination on the facts themselves that were presented. They did not say, this was the case of Andrea Constant specifically, that what she says happened didn't happen. What they did say is that there was a deal, that the DA in Pennsylvania, that District Attorney Bruce Castor, made a deal, basically said, I'm not going to prosecute. You should go testify under oath in this civil trial, and that deal needed to be honored going forward. Legally sound?
Well, that's what the Pennsylvania Supreme Court decided, and of course there are issues as to whether, in fact, there really was a deal, a non-prosecution deal. But they decided that the promise was made to not prosecute, that Mr. Cosby relied to his detriment on that promise, in that when he testified in the civil case, he could no longer invoke his Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination. And in fact, because he couldn't invoke it, because he was relying on a promise not to prosecute, he answered questions, and the Supreme Court said he gave incriminating answers and statements which were used against him in the criminal case. So they felt that that was a violation of due process. Look, he is now a free man. There cannot be a further prosecution, at least in Pennsylvania, and I'm not aware of any other prosecutions anywhere else of Bill Cosby. That's the bad news for many survivors. The good news is we have a civil lawsuit still pending in LA County Superior Court in Santa Monica, and we are going back to the judge next month, well, actually in August, to have a status conference. We have been awaiting this Supreme Court decision, and now the court will be ready to set a date for us to finish our discovery and perhaps to set a date for trial. The discovery is going to involve Mr. Cosby having to sit for his deposition and answering our questions under oath. This is a very serious case involving an allegation in this lawsuit of child sexual abuse that Mr. Cosby is alleged in this lawsuit to have committed an act of child sexual abuse on our client at the Playboy Mansion in Southern California. So we're looking forward to his answering questions under oath, because he can't invoke his Fifth Amendment privilege now against self-incrimination, because he won't be prosecuted again in Pennsylvania. And one last thing, which is, I would like to say to all the brave victims, to all the survivors, to all the accusers, this is not over. And remember, when it comes to Mr. Cosby's obituary, it's going to be in his obituary that he was convicted of 3 felonies, aggravated indecent sexual assault against Andrea Constant. And even though his conviction was overturned by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, that will always be part of his obituary. And that is due to the courage of all of the brave women who testified against them. And I did represent the majority of the prior bad act accusers in that case.
Gloria Allred, thank you for your time. Victoria Valentino, we appreciate you being with us this morning.
Well, thank you for having me.
Just ahead,